You are listening to the Unseen Paranormal podcast. We'll get to the show right after this.
Journey into the unknown, the unexplored, the unexplained, ecto-portal.
Every Wednesday, we unravel the mysteries and histories of our paranormal world.
And my father then became a psychic, and I have family members who are healers and mediums. So
Thelema is designed to free people. Here are the tools by which to be an individual.
You have to think of why they came to us. When animals appear to us for a reason. It's maybe what we're dealing with in our life. That's what animal communication is.
But any biochemist, any chemical laboratory will tell you that the genetic codes are the same. It's the same here and the same across the cosmos.
Our show is not just for those that believe,
but for those who want to take a closer look.
Join us for Ecto-Portal at www.ectoportal.podbean.com. Also available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and YouTube.
Welcome to another episode of The Unseen Paranormal, where some of the scariest things are unseen. I'm your host, Eric Freeman. Hey everybody, on today's show, we're talking to Mark Walsh. Mark is the director, co-founder, and leader of Rutherford County Paranormal Research. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing pretty good.
Thanks for coming on the show and talking to me. So what got you interested in the paranormal and starting Rutherford County Paranormal Research?
Well, I actually got started back in, I think, 87 or 88. But it was more of the cryptid thing, you know, like the UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Jersey Devil, that kind of thing. And then I shifted more over to, well, I guess the ghost side, if you want to call it that. You know, getting into the hauntings and locations and histories of places. With me and my wife started doing that. Then we moved to Tennessee in 99 and kind of took a little break and got started again. And then it was more of the haunted locations, haunted cemeteries, you know, places like that we started doing.
And then how did you come to form your own group?
When we got to Tennessee, we kind of hooked up with a couple other teams, you know, and that didn't work out. So I was like, well, let's do this on our own. So we decided, we wanted to start going out, investigating these locations, some that we previously been to and other new ones. A few years later, we got some friends involved and everything. And I don't know, honestly, I think it was, it felt kind of, well, you're with another team. It's not necessarily bad, but, sometimes, you butt heads and have different ideas and everything. And,
right. And
back then, it's a lot different than it is now. But I think, that was the main reason we wanted to get out and get on our own and kind of do it, our own way, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. And with all the paranormal shows and stuff, being so popular, and there's a, paranormal team on every corner now.
Yeah.
and since it's been popular for the past, 10 years, a lot of people don't understand, a lot of younger people don't understand that, back when you started, people thought you were crazy for even going out and seeking out the paranormal, or they might want to commit you or put you in a white jacket or something.
Right. It wasn't mainstream like it is now, where, like you said, all the people who are just getting into it are just hearing about it or watching all the TV shows and everything. Back then, it was like there was no internet, there was obviously no social media and everything. And if you want to, you'd go down and take your 35 millimeter film and develop it at Walgreens or wherever it was. I mean, they still even had the little photo shack places, where you could take your pictures. And then if you wanted to share something, then you'd have the picture and take it and show it to people and your friends. I mean, that was really the only way of sharing things, back then. And so yeah, it's changed a lot. I would say for the good and for the bad on certain things, not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. But yeah, it's definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, and the whole investigating side, like you were saying, with the 35 millimeter camera versus the digital stuff we have now, and there's so much more technology that's been brought into the paranormal world to investigate with, and that's changed a lot over the years as well.
Yeah, definitely. I still have my original cassette tape recorder that I started with, and I still use it, the analog, and I still have my 35 millimeter camera. It's getting, harder to get the film and everything, but it's still available. But, I still use that, and I got my best EVPs and my best pictures with film camera and with an analog recorder. And, I still use it. It's just, I like a lot of the equipment now. I don't think a lot of it's necessary, but it just, you're right. It's changed a lot.
Yeah, and I think I put some credence into that the old analog stuff works better just because of how it works versus the digital stuff. Because taking an old tape recorder, which is recorded on there magnetically, and if we believe that spirits can manipulate the electromagnetic field, then why couldn't they could easily manipulate the magnetic signal on the tape itself?
Right, exactly. And with the software now that I use for the digital, I can clean it up. I can, enhance it. I can do this, do that, remove the hiss and everything, which is good. But at the same time, that can also ruin the EVP,
right.
So I still, when I use my recorder, I still have a way of hooking it up, the tape, and putting it on. And honestly think using the analog, the tape is better. Like I said, I've got some really, really good EVPs and some incredible EVPs and really clear, more clear sometimes than digital EVPs on my tape recorder than I do with, the digital. That's just like the camera. Digital camera is good for instant results. I've also been a photographer for a long time. My wife is a photographer. And a lot of people don't understand that the digital camera has so many filters. Oh, look, it's an orb, and then, so if I took a picture with my digital and my film camera at the same time, same location, same whatever, I'm going to be able to look at the digital and see what I got. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get something different on my film camera than I would on the digital. Well, how come it didn't show up on the digital? Well, because of this, blah, 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 blah. And I got it on film. So that's why I enjoy using the film camera actually more. Like I said, the digital is good for instant results, but, also take a film camera. When you even get a disposable, those are disposable ones at Walgreens,
Yeah.
And then use that. You'll be surprised what you get, honestly.
Well, and like you were talking about the filters that are on today's digital cameras, even on your cell phone, there are UV filters and infrared filters that filter out a lot of that light, to where a normal film camera is just letting in whatever light, and that's what's going to imprint on that film.
Beyond the film, and like I tell everybody too, if you do that, they used to think I was crazy when I go into Walgreens or wherever I have them developed, and you look at them and tell them, okay, listen, I want every picture printed, whether it's dark, whether it's got white streaks or whatever, print every single one. I'm like, huh?
Right.
I just do it,
Yeah.
And I still do occasionally, but with the film camera, I wouldn't necessarily get, orbs or whatever you want to call them, or balls of light, but I would get ectomist. Oh my God. I go to cemeteries and old, houses that were used, the antebellum houses or whatever. And I would get ectomist. I would get it all the time. Digital. And I don't know what it is, honestly. Not so much. Maybe it's the filters. I don't know. But with the film camera, it would be, I would get so much more things than with the digital. So yeah, it's a huge difference.
And I know you've embraced the technology a little bit. I got to investigate with you at Lotz House about a week ago, and you like to use the ghost box and got some pretty good results from what I saw.
The Geoport, yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody's kind of familiar with it. It's like the Spirit Box, the SB711, but it doesn't have the white noise. You just get the results. It is radio, but you don't hear the sweep, and it's just the results, or I guess you want the answers or whatever when you ask questions. And it has the echo and the reverb, and I think it's a lot cleaner. Nick used it on whatever show, I can't remember what it was. And then Ghost Adventures will use it every once in a while. But yeah, I like that a lot better. The go-to is always just doing EVPs with without using anything. And I still do that. But if I'm going to like the battlefield or the Lotz House or whatever, Thomas House, I'll take that because I know I'm going to get really good results out of, especially the battlefield. Oh my goodness. But I'm going to get really good results. It's cleaner. Like I said, it doesn't have the white. Now the white noise does, I guess the theory is to help the spirits talk to you or whatever. But I thought, okay, cool. I actually sold both of my spirit boxes and got the Geo box just because of that alone, to cut the white noise out. And I'm like, okay, this ain't going to work with that white noise, right? And I was wrong, It works as like you saw. What I ask, every time I go to the battlefield, I always ask, who's a president? I always get the answer Lincoln. Well, I don't know if you were there I think you were there when I was doing it in the gift shop. And
at Lotz,
I asked twice who the president was, and it said Lincoln. So,
then Thomas, the director at Lotz, he asked upstairs, and it said the same thing, got the same answer.
Yeah. So, and I like it. A lot of the equipment is good. I'll be honest, if I could afford all the cool stuff, I would. But honestly, I don't think it's really necessary. And I'm sure people are going to disagree with me. Oh, look, Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters got a new toy.
Yeah.
I want that,
Yeah, but
I do too, but,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, you don't have all the money. A lot of that stuff is expensive.
Right.
But I think, we're just talking about that, you can have a simple film camera and just a simple recorder and do an investigation on your own. As long as no trespassing, get permission,
Right. Please get permission. Yeah.
But, and even your cell phone is a good resource. I mean, you got a recorder in your hand, you got video, you got, digital pictures, and you've got audio recorder, just in the palm of your hand. You already,
right. And what I don't know if a lot of people realize too, a lot of the phones have magnets in them, which makes it a good compass too. I always tell people, or they ask me, well, what do I start out with a thermal? I'm like, no, just take your phone if that's all you got, or you can even get digital recorders reasonably priced now.
Right.
And your phone camera, or if you can, go to Walgreens and buy one of them Kodak disposable cameras where you take it in and they develop it. Those are like $10, and those work. They got a flash, and just start out doing that, just go out and I always say, find someone to go out with. Don't go out on your own. Everybody's like, well, yeah, I'd do that. But yeah, don't, especially if you're starting out. But yeah, just, try to get with a local team or some friends and always get permission to go to places and just go do an investigation, see what happens. They'd be surprised.
So what are some of your favorite investigations over the years that you've done?
Well, definitely the battlefield. We've been out there more than 100 times and seen and got some incredible evidence. We've heard musket fire and cannon fire. We've seen soldiers walking across the field.
Wow.
That's definitely my favorite. And that's, we don't go in at night because you need permission to go in, but you don't need to. You just park on the side of the road and just sit there and you'll get activity. Like I said, you don't go in at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just sit on the side of the road and get there. And then of course, a very close second is the Thomas House in Red Boiling Springs. It's a bed and breakfast. We've gone there. We go there twice a year for the last five years. And there's a lot of good stuff. Disembodied voices, we've seen shadow people. I've seen what appeared to be a female apparition twice in one of the hallways there. Footsteps all night long. Just, really good EVPs. We don't walk out of there with no less than maybe 8 or 10 EVPs every time we go. We go to do some of the local cemeteries in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. We go to a lot of the places that really aren't that well known. Everybody says, well, I don't want to go because it's not a well-known location. Well, I like to do those too, but there's so much to do, just not in Rutherford County, but Tennessee. Oh my goodness. I mean, that no one's ever done, no one will ever do, and people that don't go to the battlefield are missing out. You can get more stuff in the battlefield in 2 or 3 hours than you could probably at some of the other well-known locations, honestly. At least we do,
And you're talking about the Stones River battlefield in Murfreesboro?
The Stones River battlefield,
okay.
Yeah. In Murfreesboro, yeah. But yeah, they're missing out on these places that, these little cemeteries out of the way, and there's 2 really good cemeteries in Murfreesboro we frequent, and they're just, you're like, oh my goodness, some of the things that's happened to us, and we've seen shadow people out there, stuff like that, and there's just so much to do that we've been in Tennessee 23 years, I think, and I still haven't done a lot of things. Oh, we've done Hales Bar Dam. That place is really neat, and it's creepy. Taking the geobox in there and everything, and we've gotten really good results. That's, I can't remember that, Guild, Tennessee, I think, between Nashville and Chattanooga. Well, it's like 12 miles northeast, I think, of Chattanooga off I-24.
Yeah.
But that's another really, really good location that we've done.
You were talking about the Thomas House. That's a great place that some novice hunters can go because you can actually
Yes.
rent a room and
Yes.
spend the night as like a bed and breakfast.
Right, yeah, it's a bed and breakfast, and Miss Evelyn Thomas, she's super nice. David's her son, he's a cook, and Dale's her other son, who I guess they call him the ghost hunter. But yeah, I mean, they're really incredible, nice people, super nice. They do a dinner buffet and a breakfast buffet. It's included in the price to stay. Basically, you're paying to stay and eat and getting a free ghost hunt,
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a great place. There's nothing evil there. There's nothing bad there. I've never had anything bad happen there at all, ever, And then across the street is the church, which we make sure we investigate when we go. That supposedly back in the day, and Daryl's kind of like, verified this from stories and everything, that he supposedly stole the money from the church, buried it somewhere on the church property, and hung himself in the rafters in the church. So we go there, we get some good action with the spirit box or the geo box, and we always get good EVPs there. But yeah, that's a great place and it's not that expensive. I can't remember exactly how much it is now, but yeah, that's a great place. It's in Red Boiling Springs, yeah, so that people can Google that or whatever. But yeah, it's a great place for anybody to go, honestly.
Yeah, and Red Boiling Springs is not very far from Nashville.
No, I think from us is like an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah. What would you say over all your years, what would you say is some of the best evidence that you've ever caught?
Some of the best evidence, probably the Thomas House, where we had something grab my camera and shut it off. And like I said, the apparition. Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, where we caught an apparition of a nurse on camera walking through the nurse's station and into the wall. Wow, there's just so many. The battlefield, seeing soldiers walking across. Now that we didn't catch, because and I'm sure you see something, you're like, okay, did I just see that? And my camera's in my hand, and why isn't my camera up and recording,
Yeah.
There's a lot, but probably one of my favorites is Bear Creek Church in Columbia, which now is available to investigate. But back then we had to get permission from the sheriff's department. This was back in 2001. But actually, me and my wife were in the church getting ready to leave, and this is before we had the video cameras and everything, and all we had was a cassette and the film camera. But I got pictures. It was when she started to sing Amazing Grace, and the pews were actually shaking and moving on their own.
Wow.
Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. And we were all sitting up on the 3rd floor. There were 6 of us on each side on the floor against the wall. And they had a REM pod about maybe 10 feet away from us, 15 feet. Asking questions, REM pods going off, blah, blah, blah. And then the thing looked to me like the REM pod moved. It looked like it levitated left to right up the wall into another room. And we're all sitting there, and I say, did anybody else see that? Because everybody's quiet. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, yeah. So how can 12 or 13 people see the same thing, the REM pod moving? Then I asked one of the girls who worked there. I said, has this ever happened before? Oh, she goes, yeah, this is the 4th time, like it's not a big deal. So that validated that. I'm like, well, how can 13 people see the same thing? And of course, my camera was dead, so I couldn't film it. I'm sure those moments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, there's just a lot, but there's just so much cool stuff around, to do and everything, and a lot of places to check out.
Yeah, and I think you kind of talked about a couple of times about your camera's always dead or you're not filming. I think because when you're dealing with something intelligent, I think they kind of know that, and that's when they do stuff to show themselves, because for whatever reason they don't want it on camera, or it just seems like that happens a lot when something's wrong with the camera, or they drain the battery,
right, batteries go. I spent a lot of money on batteries.
Yeah.
But that's just like I found out the hard way the very first time, because everybody's got the same routine and question. Now, the same questions work for me every time at the battlefield. I do a variation, but I kind of stick to the same stuff, Everybody asks the same thing, which is okay, but you got to, mix it up. But like the battlefield, I stick to a certain set of questions because I know I'll get my results every time. But what I'm getting at is, one time I said during an EVP session, I said, what's it like to be in heaven? And then I asked, what's it like to die? Or what happens after you die? Well, I found out the hard way that's not something you ask, because after I asked, our EVP session's done. It's over. Every time, it's like they've got a code or something, like, well, don't tell them what it's like to die, because that's a secret and we don't want everybody to know.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like I asked, and next 2 hours, nothing. That'll end your EVP session really quick. Well, at least it does for me when I'm at every place. So I don't even ask it anymore. I'm not saying, don't go and to certain locations and don't ask. But when I do it, you're done, man. You might as well pack your stuff up and go home. It's like they're like, shh, okay, we're not talking to them anymore. That's exactly what it's like. It's pretty creepy, actually.
So what would you say is, after all the evidence that you've seen, what is your view on death and the afterlife? What do you think? Why do you think spirits still stick around?
My thoughts are, for example, if you have a violent death, I'll give a good example. The battlefield. I said, do you know you're dead? And one spirit response, I guess, was no. So I'm like, okay. Because I don't think if you get, shot in the head or a leg blown off or you die instantly, the theory is you don't know that you're dead.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot and heard that a lot. But anyways, I think that if that happens, everybody's like, well, how come thousands and thousands or millions of spirits, how come they're all still here? Maybe they come and go. I don't know. I've also heard that unfinished business, that could be it too. I've heard 4 or 5 different reasons, but I think maybe because if you have a traumatic death, car wreck, gunshot, whatever, war, whatever, that you're bound, well, not bound here, but you're here because you don't know that you're dead until you're told you're dead.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's just a theory. I'm not, but I think it has to do with that, where they're here. There's unfinished business. Oh, okay. They were killed in a car wreck. Okay. What about my family? Oh my God, they're going to be so sad. Well, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And people say, well, why do you go to a cemetery? They didn't die there. No, they didn't die there. They're buried there. And maybe they come around from their family, because we get, a lot of activity at the cemeteries. So, there's a couple different reasons I think like that, but, that's what we're trying to find out. Well, at least that's what I'm trying to find out. And sometimes they don't want to tell you.
Right.
So you just got to keep on trying. I mean, that's why we're doing this. That's why, it's not that I have a fascination with death. I'm just curious. I want to know where we go. I was born and raised a Roman Catholic. So you're born, you live your life, you die, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. So for a lot of my life, until I really got into this, I still have that belief, but after witnessing so many things, he's like, well, how can it be possible for a spirit to talk to you? And then you got these questions running through your head. Well, how come this? How come that? Well, that's what we're trying to find out. I think that's what all of us, well, most of us,
yeah,
trying to find out why this happens. And maybe someday we'll have an answer. Someday we won't have an answer. But until then, we got to keep on trucking, and trying to find out why. Well, how come these spirits are here? How come they're still here? How can they talk to us, you know? And that, I've been trying to figure that out for 30 plus years, you know, and we still don't have an answer. Like I said, hopefully one day.
Yeah, and hopefully one day, you know, mainstream science will start to take us a bit more seriously. I know now,
right, exactly.
There's more people who believe in the paranormal now, and a lot more people who are willing to come forward and tell their stories of, you know, paranormal experiences with spirits and ghosts.
I look at Ed and Lorraine Warren. Everybody thought they were crazy when they started, and they're kind of like the OGs, you know, in the paranormal field. And there's a few others, Johnny Zappas and some others, you know, that have been doing this longer than I have, and they're still like, you know, kind of like shrugging their shoulders, you know, at why this is happening. And I would say almost every bit of equipment out there, it was made for something else. It wasn't made, but now within the last few years, they're making, you know, equipment specifically for the paranormal and investigations and everything. But think about all the stuff that we use. The thermal cameras, the thermal thermometers, this and that, the EMF detectors, the K2s and all that. That wasn't designed for what we do.
Right.
But it just happened to work, right?
Yeah. And right now, my paranormal team, Medic for Paranormal, we use these little motion activated cat toys. And you turn them on and they just light up when they're moved.
Yeah, we've used those for probably, oh my goodness, 3 or 4 years. Yeah, the stuff like that.
We're coming up on the Halloween season.
Oh yeah.
Do you and the team have anything going on for the month of October?
Yeah. Actually, that's probably our busiest time. We're working on a couple other events right now. I'm not sure exactly, you know, where it's going to be or everything. We usually like maybe 1 or 2 weekends, we'll take people out to one of the cemeteries and do, you know, a public investigation. Maybe 1 or 2 weekends, I'm going to be going up to East Tennessee, Harriman, Tennessee. Friends of mine have a team up there. They do ghost walks. I'm going to go help with that. But yeah, we've got a lot coming up. But once I get all that information and everything, you know, 'cause you know how it is, things change.
Right.
We'll be posting it on our page on Facebook, Rutherford County Paranormal Investigations, and they can just follow that, and you know, we'll let everybody know, you know, where we're going and what we're going to be doing. But yeah, that's a busy season for everybody. Yeah. You know, get as much as you can in, because of November and December, you know, we still do inside investigations, but October is of the big thing in Halloween, where we do something. We'll probably do something Halloween night too. I'm not 100% sure where, or, you know, but we'll let everybody know.
Okay, so check out Rutherford County Paranormal's Facebook page for all the latest info of what they got going on, and y'all do events throughout the whole year.
Yes,
public events that people can pay to come to hunt, to investigate with y'all, and that type of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. All
right. Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on today.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a good conversation, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next time on the Unseen Paranormal. Join us next time for a new episode of the Unseen Paranormal. Until then, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at our website, unseenparanormalpodcast.com. And don't forget to like, review, rate, and share with all your friends. Thank you to my friend Chris Lips for the awesome theme music. Listen to our theme song and more of his music at chrislipsmusic.com. And remember, some of the scariest things are unseen.